What's going on, Failroaders? I'm Joshua Thomas, and I'm here to talk to you about some Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, but let's get some housekeeping done first. First off, spoiler alert for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and the original Final Fantasy VII. I can't express to you how much of a spoiler this is. This is in-game for Rebirth, and extremely important twist in the original. We're here to talk about that scene, and if you're worried about spoilers, now's the time to go away, because we're going to talk about Aerith's death scene in Rebirth, and how it just didn't quite hit the same as it did in the original game. The choices that were made in Rebirth, when I first played it, I think I did express my slight disappointment in my playthrough of the game, and we will get to that footage here in a minute. I love Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Absolutely loved the game, but this is one of my points of contention that I didn't like. And I do believe that the devs have a plan. Nevertheless, whatever their plan was, I think they could have executed it better, because for new players, you only get to experience Aerith's death for the first time once. After that, it's just repeats. It's like, oh yeah, I knew this happened. And so they kind of robbed new players of a great death scene that happened in the original game. And now I understand that, everybody's emotions are different. My emotions are different from your emotions, and you may have bawled your eyes out when you saw this scene, whether you saw it for the first time or whether you knew it was coming because you played the original and know how the original scene goes. I get that your emotions may be able to start up much faster than mine, and that you were able to latch onto that single event and just let that emotion build from there. But take it from my first-hand experience and the experiences of a whole lot of other streamers, both first-time players and OG players. We were confused, we were taken aback, and it was in a moment where we should have just felt the sadness and the tragedy. And so here we go. This is how it looks. Like I said, the devs chose, instead of having emotion, instead of making you cry like you did in the original, they instead chose something else, and that was to have confusion. Because they wanted you to ask questions, yes. Here at the very end of this game, they want you to have things to look forward to in the next game, but this one thing that they did here, this one thing, they did wrong. And I'm calling it here. Regardless of what theory you believe in, this could have been done differently. And so, the first thing that they do here, is they make you think that you're going to, save Aerith. And I mean, that's pretty crazy. You have you fighting Sephiroth, and man, this is absolutely, totally fan service. What fan wouldn't want to experience this? And then, it appears that you did it. It appears that you did it. But then, something changes. And we're not exactly sure what changes. And then we have this very vague, confusing zoom in on the sword, and it transforms, and then we see the blood rolling in. Now, this is my first point of contention, and I'll pause it here, because I think the reason that they couldn't show Aerith being impaled and blood in the same shot was probably for the rating. So it was like, do we show Aerith being impaled, or do we show blood? And I guess they chose blood here. They chose, a creative zoom in or a follow down the length of the blade. But this is also the first reversal, and this is the first of the confusing things where it kind of toys with your emotion. I mean, we just saved Aerith, and now all of a sudden, we were elated, and now your emotions are taking that course. And imagine your emotions are kind of like a train. They need to get up speed, but then this happens, and your emotions don't get to get up to speed. And then we see the death scene, or at least what appears to be a part of the death scene. This follows along with the OG relatively well. Almost exactly how it happened, of course, just with modern day graphics, with the music and everything. And so now, okay, we didn't succeed. The music starts playing. You start tearing up. You see the white materia sink into the water and Aerith fall. And then, here we go. We're about to have this amazing dialogue. We're about to hear Cloud just spill his guts, like he did in the OG. And of course we have Sephiroth laughing hysterically, and... Wait, was that it? What's happening here? I didn't get to hear... I didn't get to hear those awesome words that Cloud says. He's saying them right there, and yet we can't hear them.
Your tears are empty.
My tears are empty. My tear ducts are dry because I don't get to hear Cloud in his emotional speech that he gives at this time. Now, this part right here, I think is absolutely badass, and I wish they would have improved upon that. Sephiroth slings blood on Aerith, and then we have a second reversal. Wait, what is this? Aerith is still alive? What's going on? All of a sudden, not only have they taken away the great dialogue, but now Aerith's alive again, seemingly okay. And then we get, yet again, some more confusion as we see Tifa watching Aerith, and there appears to be blood, then no blood, blood, then no blood, and it doesn't matter because no matter what, Aerith is still dying in Cloud's arms. So why are we shown this? It once again confuses us, transforming them into rage, sadness, hatred. It suggests that he killed all the Aeriths in all the different timelines, which is pretty freaking dark. But what about our Aerith? What about our Aerith? And then another reversal. She seems fine, okay, and then Cloud lays her down, and she closes her eyes, and then they fight. At this point in the game, we're not quite sure whether Aerith is alive or dead. It's really confusing, and then they've also taken away Cloud's lines. They took away watching Sephiroth just slowly take the sword out of Aerith, looking into Cloud's eyes with this sort of grin like, I just did that in front of you. They took all of that away. So then we fast forward to the beginning of the final battle with Sephiroth, and we get this. We get these white whispers that are seemingly controlled by Aerith herself. And then we see her stepping out of this white portal, and everything transforms into this white sea of tranquility. And it's, once again, it looks badass. It's elating to see that Aerith is back, and that she gets to have this one final fight. She gets to help Cloud one last time. And then, of course, Sephiroth underestimated you. But once again, here, Aerith seems to be alive. And then they fight. And now, after having won, we get, once again, another strange vision. And the moment I saw them grab hands like this, and Aerith says everyone's waiting, I knew that everyone was just waiting for Cloud, and that this Aerith wasn't coming back with us. And then we're transferred over to, once again, this white plane with the white whispers, zooming around, and here is Aerith, once again, dead. Our party runs up to her. They're all weeping, they're sad, knowing that, yeah, it's final. And then Cloud walks up, and we are seeing everyone mourn her death. And then we're transformed, once again, we're transferred into this sort of mystical light, where it's just Cloud and Aerith. And we get yet another reversal of the reversal of the reversal. He tells Aerith to wake up.
Aerith, wake up.
And she does. She wakes up, and for a moment there you're like, oh my god, something incredible happened. Somehow we saved her. Like, should I be elated? Should I be sad? I don't know at this point, because I have no idea. if her death actually happened, or if she was saved. And then once again we get a reversal of all the other reversals, and here's the party once again sans Aerith. They skipped her funeral scene. They skipped the scene of Cloud picking her up and taking her body into the water and looking at her one last time and releasing her, and her floating down. It's all just skipped over to come to this right here. Cloud and Tifa sitting next to each other. Tifa sad, Cloud sort of, well, he seems kind of okay. And then the final reversal. We get the glitch. We see Aerith's death, and then once again we see Aerith. But what version of Aerith is this now? She's there. Cloud sees her. We get the mysterious music, and then, well, the rest of the video happens. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to believe that there's a reason behind each thing that the devs did here, but at the same time, I think the choice that they made here to trade the tragedy for confusion could have been averted. I think they could have had the tragedy and the confusion. And how would they have done this? Well, they simply could have given us a chance, our emotions a chance to catch up with what our eyes are seeing, and simply not done any of the reversals. Maybe just the first one, where we get that transformation of the sword and the blood trickling along the ground. And then we could have had the rest of the death scene as it goes in the OG, as Cloud weeps and as he spills his soul, talking about Aerith, how she will never laugh, never cry, never get angry again. Talking about how he doesn't care about Sephiroth's grand plan, that he's got this, these feelings, his mouth is dry. What are these sensations that he's feeling? It's such a well done scene, and new players to the franchise really needed to see it here. And then what they could have done is gone into the boss fight, not had any more of these reversals, and then once everything was said and done, we still have the Aerith and Cloud final boss fight. She disappears. We have Aerith's dead body laying there. We have the funeral. We actually show Cloud taking her and laying her to rest in the water. And we had already seen part of this scene in Remake. So it was very disappointing that we didn't get to see that, and that they just completely skipped over it, which once again leaves us, the player, watching this for the first time, in this sense of vagueness, this sense of uncertainty. And that is what the devs chose for us. They chose the uncertainty instead of the tragedy. But I do believe that the devs have a plan. Once again, in viewing the ending over and over and over again, I do believe that the devs have a plan for Part 3, and they are still going to show us Aerith's full death scene, but in little sprinkles throughout Part 3, as Cloud comes to deal with this tragedy. He has to go through those stages of grief, and as he's going through those stages, he's going to slowly start to see the flashes of what actually happened. Now, is that the best way to do it? Could they have shown us all of that and still shown us that something is off with Cloud, and that Cloud needs to work through this in Part 3? I think they could have, but instead what they chose to do was they chose to show us things from Cloud's point of view, and in this situation I think we needed to see things from a third-party point of view, from a third-person point of view. We needed to see what actually happened so that we as the viewer could enjoy the emotions that we were feeling at the time. But I digress. The devs did what the devs did. I didn't enjoy the choice. I know that there are some crazy things going on in the subtext here. Once again, if you have seen any theory crafting, then you know that there are many possibilities about what's going on here. But regardless of whichever one you choose to believe in, her death scene should have been shown in its entirety in the end of FF7 Rebirth. I actually enjoyed the ending scene that you're seeing here because it sets us up with lots of questions and it can absolutely be analyzed, and I do analyze that video and you can see that here on one of my live streams. But nevertheless, this was their chance to make her death scene so memorable, and they chose confusion. I'm Joshua Thomas. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you'll check out more on the FailroadExpress. Like and subscribe. I'll check you guys next time.